Hello everyone and welcome back. Today is the third Friday of the month, so that means it's time for a scrapbook collaboration with our other team members from Stampin' Up who are on Erin Jacobson's team. We're using this sketch right here this week. It's located on page 28 of the annual catalog. And when I got to looking at this, it reminded me a lot of the scrapbooking workshop for the Weekend Adventures collection. This is a collection and they give you instructions for 3 different layouts. And it comes with everything you need to do the layouts, but this one right here is the one I was looking at. The one on the right there, this one is pretty much like our sketch, but I'm going to use this whole thing as my jumping off point. You can see it includes, if you want to do the workshop kit, it includes everything you need. You have stickers, you have all the paper, and it comes with instructions to make the 3 double page layouts that you see there in the catalog. All right, so I am going to continue documenting pictures from my trip to Rocky Mountain National Park. This was a beautiful lake that we found there in the park. It's called Sprague Lake. It has a walking trail that goes all the way around the lake, and it has some beautiful views from every side of the lake that you go on. So we'll putting these on this side and the 3 small ones on the right. Now for paper choices, I pulled out some different packs. I thought we'd pull out some papers and see what we thought. This is from the Floral Delight. It has this nice green, and then it has a lot of florals in the yellows. I just don't think the yellows are going to stand off the white paper. It does have this linen looking background that looks very nice with the green, but I believe it's just a little too dark. I don't think I like that dark linen up next to the dark green. I think we need a lighter color to give a little contrast. So let's look at this paper from the Celebratory Sips collection. It does have this nice green paper. Then we can bring in this. This is called Woven Textures. It has some nice mix-ins that would look nice with some of the others. We could put this behind the green. I think that would look nice. That would give it a nice contrast. We also have this To Market pack. It has a nice wood grain. But again, that wood grain is very dark. I don't think I'm really going to like it next to that green. That green just doesn't stand off enough. I think we need a lighter color flanking the sides. So I think I'll go back to this lighter linen look. And then while I was looking through my papers, I came across a specialty paper called Thoughtful Designs. It has different color papers, and they have this very pretty leafy background. It has this green, and I think I really like this paper. I love the background there of that leafy pattern, and I really think this goes good with this paper right here. And I think I really like this one. Yeah, there's not enough contrast there with the darker color still. I think I like this lighter one, so I think that's what I'm going to go with, is those 2 papers there. So let me get those cut down. All right, for our embellishments, I'm going to use this Mixed Florals. I stamped this one out on paper, and then I colored it with some of my markers. And when I was coloring it, I was trying to go for some of the color to match the foliage here in this picture. And then this yellow, this is the darker of Daffodil Delight. I thought it was added a nice color in with that darker color foliage plus the green background. It just looks really nice. So we're going to make 3 clusters. I have one on the left side of the left page, and then on the right page I've got one just below the bottom and just below the top. I have this extra one. We may try to work it in over here. Not sure. I'll let that sit there for just a moment. And then from the Charming Duck Pond, I've cut out some more of these cattails. I cut these out of white paper and then I just colored them. And I colored the leaves green with the green marker, and then I used my pecan pie ink and just used a blending brush and brushed some on the cattails. So we're going to add one of these into each cluster. I loved walking around the lake. There was so much around. They had tons of these little cattails around everywhere, and they were just all mixed in with the flowers. So I thought I would just go ahead and kind of mix mine in as well. It gives it that lake vibe. And then I also cut out some of the little lily pads that also come from the Charming Duck Pond. I'm going to try to add these a little more. I think the clusters are really, have enough of the cattail, so we're just going to leave this one out. We'll bring in those lily pads, and I cut some from green paper. I also cut some just from white paper, and I colored them green with my green alcohol marker. But I thought these would be cute to add around. A lot of the lakes had lily pads on them, and it just adds a nice little detail to each cluster. So we'll get one of those added to each spot. All right. Now then, I'll also cut some logs. Our clusters need something to kind of ground those embellishments. So I thought we could cut a log. They had lots of fallen trees around the lake and everything, so a little log kind of fits in. But we're going to add one to each cluster, and that'll just hold our embellishments so they don't look like they're just floating in the air there. Get those arranged. And one more for this one here. And that just brings in the nice finishing touch to each one of those clusters. All right, while I was off camera, I decided to move this cluster on the left side up to the top. Everything was starting to feel a little heavy toward the bottom, so I decided I wanted to move that cluster up toward the top. Then I have some other ideas to embellish around the bottom, but I got these glued down, and I even found this little cute frog. But I didn't glue this one down yet because I think I'm going to add these tags. And this yellow tag is going to hold a little bit of journaling. I have some more pictures that we took around the lake that I'll tell a bigger story with. So on this one, I think I just want to get on the card there, on the tag, the where and when. And then when I do my next page, because we went to this lake a couple different times, and so I have some more pictures with a bigger story to tell, and I can tell more of my story. But we went to this particular lake because we had heard that there was moose being sighted there. And that was one of our bucket list items for our trip, was we really wanted to see a moose. So they said that a mother moose and her baby was being spotted usually early in the morning around sunrise or late in the evening. So I believe these particular pictures are from one evening that we was there. It had been really rainy, but the moose never came out. I do have some other pictures. We did a sunrise trip where we was there before the sun came up to try again to see the moose, but we didn't get to see it either time. So, but we have some beautiful pictures. You can see all the fog around the mountains. It was really rainy and foggy. All right, let's get this little lily pad added back up here, and I think that's going to complete that cluster. I'm going to take the ends that I cut off from those two tags, and I'm going to make a set of tags to go along the picture on the bottom side. But I'll get my journaling put up here when I get to the end, so I can just remember exactly where this was. We'll get all these glued down in a few minutes. I'm going to fuss with it a little here so I can try to get it in a good spot so I have plenty of room to put on there what I need to put. Okay, I also want to ink distress around these with the Early Espresso ink. I did ink around the two patterns that are flanking the green, and I inked around my photos because I didn't want to add another photo mat. I liked the way they popped off with just that white mat on that darker green background. So, but I did ink around the edges because a couple of them hung off the edge and I wanted it to stand off of the lighter background. So we're just going to ink up these tags as well with the Early Espresso ink, just so they match everything else and they have a good contrast off the paper as well. So we'll get these all inked up. I apologize I'm off camera a little bit. I had my camera set up just a little differently this time and I didn't realize that it was farther back. But we're just going to get that second detail tag in there. And I think that's going to look good. So here's where we're going to take the little pieces I cut off. We're going to make some little tags to put on the left side. That way we can bring that yellow, and the other one is Cajun Craze. We can bring those colors to the other side. So it'll give it some unison in the colors, make it look the same on both sides. Because you always hear what you do to one side, you want to do to the other. So I'm going to bring that over to the left side. I am going to ink distress those edges as well, and we'll get those finished cut and put in place. Okay, for our title, we're going to be using this Adventure Starts Here stamp. It comes from the Weekend Adventures stamp collection. It's a very nice size for a title. I'm going to put it here underneath on the right side. I usually put my titles on the left side, but in our sketch, we're going to use it on the right. It's on the right on our sketch. We're going to use gold embossing powder on this Early Espresso paper. And this is my first time with heat embossing, so we're going to see how this works out. But let me just move this over and I'll show you how I'm going to do this. All right, so we have our Early Espresso cardstock. I'm going to ink up my stamp with a sticky ink that'll stick to that cardstock when you put it down. And I wasn't sure how much it took to get it good and inked up, so I used quite a bit. I wanted to have good coverage when we stamped it down onto the cardstock. So we'll stamp that down, and it's going to leave that sticky impression on the cardstock. After we push it down here, you ought to be able to see it on the cardstock. Smash that down, get it good and covered. And then there you can see our sticky ink. And then we're going to get some scrap paper. And then we're going to sprinkle our embossing powder on there, just like we would glitter. Cover it good with that embossing powder and then shake it off. Now you want to make sure and get all the little extra pieces off. Make sure and shake it off really, really good, because anything that's left on there, when you put the heat to it, it's going to melt on there and stay. You won't be able to get it off after that. So I'm just going to go around it here and get as much of that extra. If you have a little paintbrush, it helps to get into those little spots. I don't have one here with me now, so I'm just going to get it off just as good as I can. You can get an anti-static pouch that you can rub across your cardstock before you stamp it. That'll get all the static off and help the embossing powder to not stick to anything except where you've stamped. Now we're going to get our heat tool nice and hot here. I apologize, my phone died there, so I had to switch back and get it going again. So when we get this nice and hot, you want to let it heat up good. A hair dryer will not work. It will not get hot enough. You need a heat tool. I'm going to get my reverse tweezers here to help me hold this piece of paper so that I don't burn my fingers. Just give me a little extra room here. We're going to run that heat on each side, heating up that piece of cardstock. You don't want to hold it on one side for too long because it will start to curl. You can see it curling there just a little bit, but I'm going to add it onto the front, then the back, and we'll switch back to the front. I'm going to switch hands here. I'm right-handed, so this will be a little easier. We'll just go from the back to the front a couple more times. And then when it gets good and hot, you should see the magic. You'll see that ink or that just start to melt there and make that solid, make the solid letters. It's absolutely amazing. And it makes some beautiful titles. It makes some beautiful cards if you like making cards with them. All right, let's get this heat tool out of the way. And then there's our title. I love the gold. I love the gold shine. It's just so pretty. And then we're going to put some dovetails in the end of that, and we will get it attached. We're going to get this. You can put the extra right back in the jar and use it next time. And then we will get this, get our layout moved back over so we can see the whole thing here. We'll get those dovetailed in just a second. Okay, I wanted to add that gold and that Early Espresso paper to the left side as well. So I made this little small title that came from the same stamp set, The Weekend Adventure. It says Taking the Scenic Route. I just thought that would pull that color over to the other side and add a little more gold bling to the other side. We're going to get our dovetails made. If you cut up the center of your paper, I apologize, I was off camera, and then cut from the outside edge up to where you make that snip, that'll give you a nice dovetail. And we'll put one on each end here. And then we will get that attached down right here underneath this picture. All right, for our final step here, we're going to take this little splatter and we're going to add some splatter marks around the edges of our paper. I wanted to take up some of this white space, and I thought these splatters might add just a little bit of character around the page. I'm trying to decide if I want to use the pecan ink or the Early Espresso ink. I do go with the Early Espresso, just so that it'll match the paper that I put on there. But we're going to go through and we'll add some of these splatters around the title, the subtitle, and the different clusters. I'll do a couple of these here, and then I'll do the rest off camera. I'm just going to move them around in different directions around the different clusters and make those splatter marks. All right, we got all those splatters placed on, and I think I'm really liking this. Everything that I've used that is available I'll have listed in the description box below, and I will get my journaling on. I will get some twine in the ends of those tags when I get home, but I'll give you a closer look. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and like my video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Well, you'll get notified when I make new videos. This is the side that was our sketch challenge. It will be part of a playlist if you want to watch the others in the playlist and see what the other ladies have done. And until next time, have a great day.